nuclear stocks are going nuclear after 2 epic executive orders.
But the best way to promote nuclear energy in America, it's to ban people from watching Chernobyl on HBO.
Yeah,
We'll explain.
We'll explain. But before we explain, Jack, could you please sprinkle on some context now that I have my hazmat suit on?
Trump's first 100 days in office were all about oil and all against wind and solar.
That's right. President Trump was canceling government-supported wind and solar energy and incentivizing fossil fuels instead.
But something he did Friday could create more clean energy than in the history of America.
We may have to just repeat that one, Jack. President Trump may be about to create more clean energy than anyone else in history.
Because nuclear is clean energy.
The biggest source of carbon-free electricity by far. And President Trump just issued 2 executive orders on it.
Wall Street thinks those EOs are legit, by the way.
Yeah, they do. They do. Stocks of the 4 leading nuclear companies jumped 35% since that announcement.
Again, to quote Mugatu and Robert Oppenheimer,
Great combo.
plutonium. So hot right now.
Now, Jack, we should also point out Trump has signed 200 executive orders. They've been all over the place. They've covered a whole bunch of things.
Some are just symbolic and don't have substance, but these nuclear ones are the most legit that we've read thus far.
We actually organized these nuclear executive orders into 5 key areas of focus.
They're focused on speed, space, incentives, a scoreboard, and safety.
Yeah, we almost got 5 S's there. We were so close, Jack.
I went with incentives, Nick, which is kind of an S.
First, the speed. Regulators must approve or deny an application for a new nuclear power plant within 18 months.
Hurry up already.
Second is space. They're opening federal land and military bases as sites for potential nuclear power plants.
Fort Knox could get nuclear power.
That's right. And then we have incentives. The government is telling the Department of Energy to give loans to nuclear developers, up to $400 billion worth of loans.
We've said it before. The United States government is history's greatest venture capitalist of all time.
All right, Jack. Then we have number 4, the scoreboard. The government is setting 2050 as the goal to quadruple the amount of nuclear energy in America.
And finally, safety. These executive orders set a lower acceptability threshold for radiation.
Now, Yetis, we know that's a little scary at first, lower safety at nuclear power plants. But right now, nuclear power plants are actually too safe. Like, they're more safe than necessary, right?
Yeah, they are too safe. And if you want proof, nobody has ever died in America from nuclear anything.
Yeah, it's true.
No hedges, no caveats, full stop. Nobody's died in America from nuclear anything.
We can't even find evidence that someone sprained an ankle in a nuclear power plant.
On the other hand, with climate change killing people every day, we think we need to loosen requirements and get more nukes.
The only time someone's died in a nuclear power plant is probably because they choked on chicken. Like, it wasn't related to the nuclear bits.
It was a DoorDash delivery man's accident.
Yeah, they stubbed their toe and then they choked on the chicken.
But when it comes to safety, we don't want to loosen regulations too much because it's nuclear.
That's right, Jack, which leads to our takeaways. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over in nuclear?
The reason that nuclear is frozen in America, it's psychology. It's called the availability heuristic.
The availability heuristic. Besties, if you look at the numbers, it is clear that airplanes are way safer than cars.
And it's the same with nuclear power. It's way safer than oil, gas, or coal. In fact, more people die every day from the health impacts of fossil fuel than in the history of nuclear energy.
And yet, we are more afraid of nuclear because we can picture what death by nuclear looks like.
But we can't picture death by natural gas, which has to do with air pollution causing lung issues.
And that distinction, that is why after the 1979 3 Mile Island nuclear scare, America went 44 years without building a new nuclear power plant.
Even though nobody died in that 3 Mile Island incident, death by nuclear power plant entered our minds.
And it's the same with an airplane. Your mind knows what death by airplane looks like, and it is freaky, it is scary.
So you're more scared of a plane than you are of a car, even though you're 100,000 times more likely to die in a car crash than a plane crash.
That is why Jack and I think the best way to promote nuclear in America, it's to ban people from watching Chernobyl, the show on HBO.
Although I should point out, Nick and I both watched Chernobyl. Great show. Scary show.
Yes.
We're still pro-nuclear.
But we watched it alone. Our wives wouldn't watch it with us.
It was a solo late night experience.
So if you want to understand why nuclear is so behind in America, look at the availability heuristic.
We don't fear what's statistically most likely. We fear what we can picture.
Sorry, got my laugh. But the Yoda move at the end.
We're going to keep your laugh in there.